Alright, let's get down to business. And the very first thing you need to do to advertise on Facebook is to get a business manager account, and that's exactly what we're going to do in this video. So the first step you want to do is that you want to go to this address called business.facebook.com. If you have not opened an account with them before, then this will be a page that you see right now. Just want to let you know that you need to be logged in with your Facebook personal profile first before you can create a business manager account with them. And I'm not going to go through every single detail here because it's a very simple, straightforward process. What you want to do is that you want to go to the top right here, click on create account, and just fill in the details. Now all this is rather self-explanatory, and I am using a test account just to demonstrate this. So let's just go down to it right now. Okay, your business and account name, we'll just put it your business name. Okay, I'm making this up by the way. It should actually be your name, maybe your business name, private limited, your actual name. So in this case here, this is the name of this Facebook account that I am doing a test right now. And when you add in your business email, it has to be the same email address that you use for your personal Facebook account. All right, so I'm just going to add in this over here as well. This is the email address that is attached to this particular personal account. All right, click next. And all you need to do is just enter your address and your details. So for example, I'm just going to put Singapore. Okay, so what I've just done here is that I've entered my details, my physical address, or you can put it whether it's your home or your office address, that's okay. You will need to put in a website. So if you already have a website, just put it in here. If you don't have a website, for the time being, you can just put in your Facebook page address, and you can do just that. And don't worry, you can always edit that out afterwards. Now the next part is a little important. Business use. This account primarily uses Facebook tools or data to promote its own goods or services or provide services to other business. Now, choosing either one of this is not a problem, but I would recommend most of the time that you just put promote its own goods and services, because most of the time that's exactly what you are doing. And if you plan to run Facebook ads for someone else later, for your clients, you can always change this afterwards down the line. So yeah, that's about it, right? Click on submit. It'll probably take several seconds to create your business manager account. And what's going to happen is that you will arrive at a page like this. So after this, every time you log into business.facebook.com, you will arrive at the business manager interface that looks something like this. So I already have an ad account created here. If you're seeing this for the first time, you should see absolutely nothing at all. It should be a very clean slate. And in the other videos, I'll show you how to create your ad account, how to add pages, and other configurations that you can do. So if you already reached this page, then congratulations, you have just opened your business manager account with Facebook. After creating a business manager account, the next step that you want to do is that you want to create your ad account. So I'm going to use one of my business accounts to demonstrate how to do it. And as a new beginner or as a new user, you're going to see absolutely nothing here at the moment, especially the ad account. It's not going to show anything at all. So let's get started, okay? We'll click on business settings on the left. And then we're going to hover down to accounts and add accounts. So again, if your account is brand new, you're going to see totally nothing here at all. And what you want to do is you want to click on the add button here and select create a new ad account. So a lot of people might intuitively select the first one, add an ad account. That's not what we're going for. We're going for the third one, create a new ad account. So at this point, you can give it any name you like. You can name it after your product, after your company, or after your brand. There's nothing wrong with that. So I'm just going to call it product name. Okay. And personally, I would also like to add the currency that I'm going to advertise this account in. So I'm just going to put US dollars here, okay, or USD in short. Time zone, it auto detects to your current time zone. So assuming that you are living in the United States, you're going to put in your time zone. So I'm just going to go with Eastern time, okay? GMT -5. All right, I think that should be Eastern time around here. Okay, there we go. All right, and currency, you can put in USD or US dollars. Now, there's no right or wrong here. You can put it in whichever currency that you're comfortable with. It could be Sing dollars, it could be pounds, Australian dollars, it's totally up to you. There's no advantage whatsoever. So once we're done, we're going to click on next, and you're going to be asked a rather familiar question. This ad account will be used for your own business, or is it going to be used for other people? In a sense that if you're planning to run an agency and advertise on behalf of your clients, you will select the second choice. All right. But I would say that it's just better off that you just select my business, just to keep things simple. There's no right or wrong. And once we're done, we just click create, and that's it. You already have your first ad account. After creating your business manager account and creating your ad account, the next step that we're going to do is that we're going to add a payment method. So to do just that, in the business settings, you will scroll down to payments, and you'll arrive at a page like this. And you're going to click on add payment method, and this is where you will add in your credit or debit card. Now, I'm not going to actually put in my own details, but just want to give you a couple of heads up based on my personal experience is that when you add your credit card or debit card for that matter, you might get a small little charge of an equivalent of $1. And that's just Facebook's way of validating and verifying your credit card. So you might get an SMS notification or an email notification about it, depending on your arrangement with your credit card company. But not to worry, that this amount is refundable to you within the next few working days. So it's just an equivalent of $1 to verify and validate your card. And on a more personal note, if you don't have a credit card, yes, you can add in a debit card, but for security reasons, I would still encourage that you get a credit card eventually, because with a debit card, if anything happens to your account, as in hacking attempts or fraud, you can't really dispute that, and you can't fight off the charges unless you deliberately use a virtual credit card or a bank account with not a lot of savings inside. That might be okay, all right? But most of the time, I still recommend that you use a credit card, or at the very least, a virtual credit card, okay? So once you add this in, you will click on continue, and you're done, all right? I'm going to make this video rather brief, and just in case you want to tidy up some of your details pertaining to your Facebook Business Manager account. So how you're going to do just that is by going to business settings and scroll all the way down to business info, and you will arrive at a page like this. Now, some of these details here should look familiar to you when you log into your account, because these were the details that you had filled in when you created your Facebook Business Manager account. So let's start off head to toe, all right? This is the name of the business account that I'm using for an example here. So you might notice that there's a blank thumbnail over here. We'll click on that, edit, and click over here. And what we can do is that you can add a picture or a logo. And I'm just using this as an example, right? Let's just say I want to use this as a logo. I click submit, and there we go. All right, I'm just using this as an example. If you want to edit any of the details here, such as the legal name, the address, phone number, website, tax ID, you can just click on edit and make the changes here. Another thing of interest here is that you click on notifications. This is on the left here. And if you want to just control the noise that you're receiving, whether it's from push notifications or email, whenever there's an activity going on in your business account. But truth to be told, as you run Facebook ad campaigns, you don't really need to know every single thing there is. So you want to probably consider minimizing the noise or the amount of emails that you receive as an update, like from every actions that you do. So what you can do is that you can choose to turn on or turn off any of the push notifications or email for anything here. So personally, all right, I'll still leave all this turned on because these are really important information. Marketing updates, personally, I turn everything off, and that's exactly what I just did here. Partner program updates, I think this is not important as well. I just turn everything off. Pages, this is up to you. Normally, I would just like to get a push notification. So what push notification means that every time you get a notification at the top right with a red icon, that's what push notification is. I don't really need an email notification every time someone likes or even like leaves a comment. I think that's not important, so I'm going to turn that off. Ad accounts, this is totally up to you. You can have both of this on, but as you run more ad accounts, it might get a little bit noisy. You might want to consider turning off the email notification. WhatsApp. I do not use WhatsApp account, so I'm going to turn this off. If you do, you can leave it on. I don't do e-commerce in my case, so I'm going to turn off catalogs. Pixels, I think this is, we're just going to turn off the email notification. And as for apps, if you're going to run any conversions or campaigns about apps, then you can leave this on. Otherwise, you can turn this off. So yeah, this will just help you minimize your noise and clutter a little bit more. And now, this is not exactly an important thing to do, but I think it just helps you minimize the noise and keep your business manager account rather tidy. Okay, so at this point, let's just do a quick recap. You had already created your business manager account, and that's why we're seeing this. We had already created your ad account, and that's why we're seeing this as well. And you might have also added your payment method and done some slight configurations and tidying up of your business manager details. Now, before we can confidently and actually start advertising on Facebook, there's still one more thing that we need to do, and that's to use a Facebook page. So right now, at this point, you don't have any just yet. And what we're going to do is we're going to start creating or add an existing page that you might have. So to do that, we'll go to Business Settings. And as you can see here in this account, if it's brand new like what you're doing right now, you're not going to have any pages. So we're going to click on Add, and we have 3 choices here. The first choice is to add a page that you already have. So if you had already created a Facebook page before, what we're going to do is we're going to actually just simply add it, all right? And you'll type in the name of your Facebook page. So I'm just using this as an example, by the way. So let's just say this is a page that we have owned. We'll just click on Add Page, and you wouldn't have any problems whatsoever adding this. As long as you are the original admin of this page, then it will be added by default. Now, the other way is that you can click on Request Access to a Page. So what it explains here is that your business needs to use this page on behalf of another business. So if you're working as an agency, normally you need to click on Request Access to a Page, and the admin of that page or the originator will have to grant you access on his or her end, okay? But let's just say that you don't have an existing page right now, and that means you need to make a new one. So we're going to do just that. It's very simple. Let's create a brand new page. Now, there's plenty of tutorials on this out there. In fact, I'm a little bit, I would say, hesitant to actually show this because this is actually quite intuitive, you know. But I'll tell you what, I'll just do this for completion's sake, all right? So you're being asked, choose a category for the page that you're about to make. So it's totally up to you. If you are a restaurant or a premise, we're just going to choose local business. If you're doing it as a company, we just choose company, all right? Let me just go back there again. That's brand or product. So if you're saying e-commerce, you probably choose this. If you're going to put position yourself as the authority figure, we'll click on this one. And entertainment and cause or community. So it's all very straightforward, all right? So I'll tell you what, since this is just a simple task, I'm just going to click on brand or product, and I'm just going to give it a simple name. Maybe I'll just call it all right, so I'm just making this up, by the way, it's not a real thing. All right, BMW Motor Works. I'm going to just choose a category for this one. You just choose the right category. Cars, and we'll click on Create Page. So here we are right now. We have just created an empty Facebook page, and at this point, to be very frank, you don't have to overthink this part. If you don't have to basically use this page forever. If you don't like using this page, you can either change the name or just create another one, because it's just that simple. Now, what we're going to do is that we're going to do some editing and some configuration. So we're going to click on View Page and start putting in some changes that we're going to do, all right? So at this point, we can click on the page here. So what we're going to do is that we're going to ignore this. All right, we're going to click X on this. We don't really need that. There's a wizard that shows you that you're going to start adding some things like, you know, a cover, profile picture, create a username, and maybe even get some likes as well. So we're going to do this one step at a time. I'm doing this for the benefit of users who have totally no clue about how Facebook page actually works. So maybe I'll just do this a little bit slower here, then you can catch the drift. All right. Now, first and foremost, let's click on the most obvious one, that's to add a picture. All right. You can put in any picture you want, and for the fun of it, I'm just going to find a picture from Google. Let's just go to call it BMW. All right, BMW. Okay. All right. Maybe I'll just go with this nice picture. Okay, I'm going to save that into the desktop. All right, and then I'm going to click on update, upload photo. So you can actually reposition the picture however you see fit. You can even scale it closer, zoom in or zoom out, but I think this is good enough. We're just going to leave it be. Like I said, this is just a test page, right? When you actually create this for yourself, you probably want to do it a little bit more seriously. Now, this picture here can be a picture of your own. It can be a logo of your company as well. It's totally up to you. But like I said, this is just a test that we're doing right now. And then next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a cover. Maybe we'll just find another nicer picture or something that's congruent as well. Maybe I'll just go with, let's see. Maybe we'll go with this one. All right. Again, I'm only doing this as an example. It's totally up to you how you want to add your own pictures, but at this point I'm not going to think too much. I just want to make this page look more legit, and click on upload photo, and there we go. So it's going to take a while to upload a picture. It might take several seconds. Okay, there we go. You can actually drag and reposition it, but I think this looks good already. We click on save. And there we go. All right. So you can see there's already a little bit of personalization going on already. I normally like to click X on the reminders at the top. They normally show that to you when your page is very new, but we don't need that. Okay. Because one of the big, I won't say big mistake, but a mistake that I see sometimes happen is that some people advertise their Facebook page with no logo, no nothing. It just doesn't build any trust whatsoever. And like I said, it doesn't have to be this picture forever. You can always change the pictures later on, and to a small extent you can even change the name as long as it doesn't deviate from its original intention. Like for example, BMW Motor Works, you can't actually rename it to maybe Audi or something like that, because Facebook just won't allow that, right? But what we're going to do now is that we're going to click on username, and we can give it a username that we want. So in this case, I'm just going to call it BMW Motorworks. Let's see if this exists yet. All right. Okay, so I'm not eligible to create a username, so maybe let's just try adding a dot over here. Does it work? Okay, not. All right. So you can just come up with any name that you like until it actually works, all right? So let's just say you're able to create a username, then you have it appear here, all right? Now, it depends on your account. Sometimes you can create and sometimes you can't. And if you can't create right now, you can always try again later. Yeah, Facebook is just like that, all right? The next thing we're going to do is that we are going to click on, the next obvious one is add a button. We're going to keep this very simple. Just say contact you and send message, all right? Now, there are other options that you can do, like send email or WhatsApp, but in the interest of time and keeping things simple, we're just going to click on send message, okay? Click next, and we click on this, and we click finish. That's it. Now, if you want to explore this, you can do it afterwards, but right now, we're going to keep things as straightforward as possible. Now, you're going to notice that this page has 0 likes, and of course, you want to be the first person to like it. We just click on like. I probably would have explained this in other videos, but I just want to let you know that having a number of likes is not so important. Of course, we don't want to run a Facebook ad with like 0 likes on the page. It doesn't build like a lot of credibility with that. But at the same time, you don't have to spend a lot of money getting a lot of likes. You don't need like hundreds or thousands of likes, or even like 5-6 figure likes for that matter. And if you want to get likes just to get started, you can just invite your friends or some close people to like your FB page and just be done with it. And after that, you can start advertising on Facebook. Okay, so I just want to get that concern out of the way. If anyone here thinks that you must have like 6-figure likes or 5-figure likes for people to take you seriously, I have ran advertisements to Facebook pages that have like 2-digit likes, 3-digit likes, and I don't find that to be a problem at all. So with that said, I've just got that worry out of the way and that limiting belief for the matter. Now what we're going to do is we're going to click on settings. So I'm just going to go through everything here for completion's sake. So let's start with general. Okay, shortcuts, page visibility. Yeah, we can leave all this alone. Post and story sharing, by default this is on. If you're planning to share Facebook page stories, you can leave it alone, but let's just say you don't plan to do that, we can click on disable. Okay, messages, people can contact me privately. Okay, we're going to leave that alone. We'll leave all this alone here. In fact, all this is pretty much fine. Okay, the next part we're going to take a look at is profanity filter. Now I would say it's better I recommend that you leave it to medium if you don't want this kind of like people potentially leaving this kind of like vulgar language in a comment section whatsoever. Just put medium. Click save changes. Next thing we're going to take a look at is, alright, all this is pretty much good to go. Okay, so as you can see, in terms of general settings, there's not a lot for you to do. Let's go to page info. And this is where you're going to enter your details for your FB page. So the more detail is, the better it is. So you're going to add a simple description here. I'm just going to call it German engineering at its finest and all things BMW. Okay, I'm just being very straightforward with that one. Of course, it is better that you write a proper description. So for example, I'm just going to pretend that this is a BMW accessory Facebook page. So we share all the latest gadgets, accessories, and mods for BMW cars of all models. Okay, of course, assuming this is true. All right, so I click save changes. Okay, categories cars, we're going to leave that be. Contact number. If you're expecting people to contact you as a local business, you will put in your number. But if this is not relevant, we'll tick on my page does not have a phone number. Okay. Next up, website. I think this is something that you will definitely want to add in for sure. I'm going to just make something up. BMWmotorworks.com. This is not real, by the way. All right, I'm just making this up. Okay, this is the most recommended because I would expect you to have a website. But if you don't have a website, you can just click on my page doesn't have a website, click on save changes. Okay, but right now I'm just going to pretend that you have. Email, if you want people to contact you by email, you can do just that. So I'm just going to put BMW Motorworks or support@bmwmotorworks.com. Assuming again this is your email address, I'm just making this up. If you don't want to put it in here, again, you just click on my page. My page doesn't have an email, and then we're done. Okay, we click on save changes, and that's it. All right. Now address. If you have a premise, then you will put an address here. If you don't, you just untick this, and that's it. All right. Customers visit my business at my street address. Okay. Yeah, we can just leave this alone. All right. If you don't have an address, don't put it here. If you do, then you will. All right. Service area, again, if you are having a premise, then you'll put it here. But if you don't, that's okay. Now, the hours, I'm not going to think too much about it. Again, if you're running an office or a restaurant or something like that, then you will put in your hours. If you're running a virtual business where you're open 24/7, then you can just put always open. All right. It doesn't make sense for you to click on permanently closed, by the way, unless you're really, really out of business. But that's not what we're here for, right? Always open. And yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. Now, the rest of these details here are fluff, in my opinion. If you have a privacy policy page, you can just put it here for completion's sake. But frankly speaking, you can just leave all of this alone. Next. let's go to messaging. Now, I'm not going to talk about this a lot here. I might cover this next time, but this is not so important that even personally, I do not configure this, okay? Maybe as your business grows, as more people contact you on Facebook, then you can actually come here and set up your auto response message for people that contact you, and you can set up a simple message that says, I'll get back to you, or I've got your message, I'll be talking to you very soon. All right, very simple. Templates and tabs. All right, we're going to do something over here. Okay, so this is something that you will definitely want to minimize the clutter. And you notice that by default, you're using the default tabs, which includes all of this like home, post, and the whole list here. But to be very frank, you don't need all of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on turn off the default tabs, and we're going to start removing things that we don't need. So for home, it's always there. Post, yep, you definitely need that. That's how people are going to see your page. Events, now this is not necessary unless you are running an events company or you're planning to run Facebook events, that's okay. But if you're not going to do that, just click off and save. So we have videos, all right, this is integral, this is important, photos is important, about is important, community is important as well, and groups, yeah, you don't really need this, so we're going to click off and save. So what we are left with right now are the essential tabs that people will see on a page, and you can feel free to adjust this around. Just use your mouse and drag and drop around. But personally, I would prefer to make it this arrangement where the about comes first, followed by post, followed by photos, videos, community, and reviews. Okay, reviews is up to you. Some pages have it, but if you want to minimize the clutter, you can put reviews, turn off, and click save. All right. Now that's just me in making this as clutter-free as possible, but if you're expecting customers to leave reviews, which could be a very good thing by the way, it boosts up your social proof, then you can leave that on. So with that said, if you want to start adding back those tabs, you can click on add a tab and select any of the tabs that's available in this list. All right. So yeah, that's really all there is to it for the tab section. And as far as the rest goes, you can pretty much leave all of this alone. It's not so important right now. Maybe one thing I would just like to add is Instagram. If you already have an Instagram account that you would like to connect, so all you got to do is just click on connect account, put in your username and password, log in, and you will be able to connect your Facebook page to your Instagram account. So that's something you can consider doing. And again, as for the rest, it's not so important. We can leave out the rest. So let's go back to page. And as you can see here, for a brand new page that was just done in the last several minutes, including me explaining to you, you can see it's actually very easy. It's not difficult at all. All right. And of course, to get things started, it's better that you put in some starting content so it doesn't look like a shallow, hollowed out page. I would recommend that you put in the first 3 to 4 posts. And you can put in more like an introduction. You can like share some of the things that you do, what kind of results you can bring for your clients or your customers, what are the products you're selling. You can just put in like 3 or 4 posts just to get things started out, all right? And the cool part is that right now with Facebook, you can even schedule your posts in advance for the next 6 months, in fact. Okay, you can share photos, you can share videos, or even written posts for that matter, and it's as simple as that. I'm not going to actually do that here because it's quite self-explanatory and it depends on your business. Okay, so that's really all there is to it as far as creating a Facebook page goes. You can see how simple that is and how intuitive that is as well. And I hope you do take note of some of the things that I highlight to you so that we can get started on a very good note and on the right foot before we advertise on Facebook. So there you go. Take care and talk to you again in the next video. Alright, so we're going to get our first look into the ads manager that we had newly created. And at this point, make sure that you have already accomplished the following steps. And that is, you had created a business manager account, and that's why we're seeing this. You had also created your ad account, and that's why we're seeing this. You had also added your payment method, and you have at least added one page, whether it's a page that you already have or a page that we have newly created, such as this one. So what we're going to do now is that we're going to take our first look into the Ads Manager account. So how do we enter the Ads Manager account is by clicking on this, or you can even click on the Ads Manager on the left here. So it all goes to the same place, all right? So this is the place where you're going to create your campaigns and advertise from. So as a brand new account, you're not going to see anything here whatsoever. And if you are an absolute beginner, then you might be thinking like, what am I looking at right now? So don't worry, I'm just going to guide you through every step of the way and make sure that by the time we're done with this video or the entire training, you will have a clear understanding of how Facebook advertising works. So in this video, I'm going to teach you how to configure your Ads Manager column first. So I'm not going to talk about the campaigns. I'm not going to talk about ad set or ads. I'll cover that in another video. But right now, it's important that we see the details or the data that we want to see. So normally by default, you will be seeing this thing called columns performance. And yes, it's a bit hard to imagine right now because we haven't run anything whatsoever. We haven't created anything just yet. But I want us to get off on the right foot and a right start. So what we're going to do is follow my lead here, okay? Just follow me closely. Click on columns performance, and you're going to see that there are many types of data that you can actually see. But we're not going to use any of this. We're going to do it things our way, all right? Click on customize columns. And okay. For absolute beginners, this might seem rather overwhelming. It might seem a little bit crazy. I remember when I did this the first time, I was overwhelmed as well. But follow me closely, all right? Follow me closely. Now, I'm doing this with the intention that we are going to be tracking the number of leads, but you can also use this to track like purchases or completed registration or any other things you want to see, all right? Right now, what we're going to do is that on the right column here, we're going to click X on every single item here. Okay, we're gonna click X, which basically means it removes the column, and now we're just left with one column called the campaign name. Now this is the only thing that cannot be removed. So I'm gonna share with you the metrics or the columns that I normally view. So follow me closely. The first thing we're gonna have a look at is the ad set delivery. Okay, we'll click ad set delivery. Basically, this explains the status of the campaign. Is it in review? Is it rejected? Is it active? Is it completed? We will know. All right, so that's called ad set delivery. The next thing we're going to add is budget. All right, so you might notice that I'm typing the search up here because if you scroll all the way down, there's a lot of things to look at. And I'll be very frank, even I do not know every single item there is over here, but it just goes to show that you don't have to be an expert in everything on Facebook. You only need to know enough how it works and start getting results. So one quick way is to just go to search, type in the word budget. We'll select the first one, and there we go. So budget basically means how much are you allocating a day or in total for that ad set or campaign, which again, if you do not know what that means, it'll make sense later, okay? The next thing we're going to look at is amount spent. All right, amount spent. Now the difference between budget and amount spent is basically budget is how much are you going to set aside in a day. Amount spent is how much money have you spent so far, whether today, yesterday, or the last 7 days, or whichever time window you're going to put afterwards. All right, not to worry again, all this will be explained to you in due time. All right, so that's the difference between budget and amount spent. The next thing we're going to look for is we're going to look at impressions. Okay, we're going to type in the word impressions. There's quite a few here. We'll select the first one, and then we're going to select the next one called CPM. So CPM stands for cost per 1,000 impression. So what does impression mean? Now, when someone scrolls down their Facebook newsfeed or Instagram for that matter, and they pass by your advertisement, now whether they are aware of it or not, that counts as one impression. And if someone scrolls by it the second time, that counts as 2 impressions, even though it might come from the same person. So cost per 1,000 impression basically indicates how much are you spending for reaching up to 1,000 impressions or 1,000 people scrolling. All right, that's what it means. Now I want you to know that there's a difference between the word impression and the word reach. So reach is how many people is this advertisement reaching out to. All right, impressions on the other hand can mean that the same person can actually view your advertisement more than once. All right, so I'll give an example here. If you are getting 1,000 reach, it basically means that 1,000 people have at least seen your ad once. All right, Impression, on the other hand, would mean that how many times has it been viewed. So it might actually be 500 people viewing the same advertisement twice. So 500 times 2 would mean 1,000 impressions. So I'm just using that as an example to illustrate the difference between reach and impression. Now, personally, I will not include reach here because I think that's not so important. We're just going to leave it with impressions and cost per 1,000 impression. I'm also going to explain to you slowly that depending on which country or which audience you're targeting, typically if you are targeting countries such as the United States, European Union, United Kingdom, Australia, Canada, or countries that are considered as tier 1 countries, you'll be fortunate if you're getting $40 or below for cost per 1,000 impressions. So I'm just using this as a benchmark. On the other hand, if you're aiming for Asian countries or Southeast Asian countries, it is possible to get $10 or below for the CPM. All right. Now, don't be too obsessed with the cost per 1,000 impression. I'm just giving you as a benchmark on what to look out for, because at the end of the day, the most important metric is the cost per result, as in like cost per lead, cost per purchase. That to me is the most important metric to look at, which we're going to get to afterwards. Next thing we're going to add, okay, is link clicks. So you can see there's quite a number of choices here. We're going to click the first one, link clicks, and CPC, cost per link click. That means how many people are clicking on your post or the link in your Facebook ad, okay? And how much does it cost to actually get them to do it? So for example, if you spend $100 and you get 100 clicks, that means you're spending $1 a click to have people visit your website from your Facebook advertisement, okay? So that's what we're looking at right now. And this is important to an extent, not so much about the cost per click, but more like sometimes when you're doing a split test, you want to make sure that enough people are clicking on your website to make a decision. So some people make the mistake of removing their advertisement a little bit too soon. They say it's not performing after quite some time, but they realize that not even 100 people have visited their website. So normally for me, when I do a split test, I want to make sure that at least 100 people have been to my website to determine the conversion rate, because it's a lot better to determine after at least 100 to 200 or even a few hundred people visit your website compared to someone who's like, you know, you've only got like 20, 30 clicks and you decided that the campaign was a failure, okay? So you don't want to be jumping to conclusions like that, all right? Next, we're going to go with this thing called CTR, okay? CTR stands for click-through rate. So we're going to select two types, CTR in bracket link click-through rate and CTR all. So you might be wondering what is the difference between these two. So click-through or in bracket link click-through rate is basically someone who has clicked on the link or the post in your Facebook ad, okay? So normally I would like to aim for 1% and above. So if 1% and above, it means that people are clicking on your advertisement, people are noticing it. For every 100 cold audience, at least one person is clicking on the ad, and to me that's considered good. If you're doing a 1.5% to 2% and above, then you're doing rather phenomenal. Now, with that said, you might be wondering what's the difference between these two then? Like what's CTR in bracket all? Like how's that different? So if you write long posts or when someone clicks on like or comment, then that will contribute to the click-through here as well. So you will normally find out that the CTR in bracket all would always be higher than the CTR in bracket link click-through rate. So as a rule of thumb, if I find that the CTR all is at least double the rate of CTR link click-through, then I think that's considered rather good. So for example, if I'm getting a 1% click-through rate, which is considered good, the higher the better, and the CTR all is like 2 to 3%, then I would consider this as a healthy advertisement. That means people are at least clicking on see more, they're clicking on to like, comment, whatsoever. Then we know that people are taking notice of the advertisement, okay? So now all these are fine and dandy, but like I said earlier, the most important thing is always the results. So if you are running a lead generation campaign, we will type in the word leads, okay? We'll click on total and cost, all right? So you might notice in leads here, there's website leads, offline leads, on Facebook leads. We don't need that. We'll just uncheck all of this, All right, we'll uncheck all of this because you only want to see what kind of leads we're getting at the end of the day and the cost per lead. So if you're running a lead generation campaign, this will be the most important metric compared to the others. All right. So for example, if you spend $100 and you got 50 leads, that means you're spending $2 a lead right now. Okay, it's as simple as that. So yes, that's really all there is to it. You can add any other metrics that you want to, but like I said, this is the simplest that I would like to keep, and I'll leave it at that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on Save as Preset at the bottom left here, and let's just call it Lead Gen, okay? And click on Apply. So every time we create a campaign, we'll view it based on the budget, amount spent, impressions, cost per 1,000 impression, link clicks, CPC, which means cost per link click-through rate, CTR all, leads, and cost per lead. Okay, and as an added note, if you want to make sure that this is the default settings that you see every time you log into your Ads Manager, you will click on Columns, click on Set as Default, and we're done. That's it. So every time we log in here, like I'm going to just refresh this right now, we will see the lead generation columns as the default, because if you didn't do that, you'll always see performance or the other default settings like this. Okay, that's not what we want. We want it to be lead generation. And if you want to configure the columns again, just go back to columns, click on customize columns, and you can remove or add or even rearrange the columns as you see fit, and click on apply. Yes, that's really all there is to it. Okay, so I just want to set you off on the right track, and I'll see you in another video. This is a continuation from my previous video on how to configure your Ads Manager column. So previously I talked about how you can create a lead generation performance column, and some of you might be thinking, okay, that might not be so applicable to my business because I could be running in e-commerce or I'm selling my own products, so I should be tracking based on purchases rather than lead generation, and that's totally fine. So what I'm going to do is that in this video, especially for those that are doing e-commerce or you're selling your own products, I'm going to show you how to slightly tweak the configuration for the Ads Manager column. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to click on the top here at columns, and you're going to click on customize columns. Okay, so it's almost the same thing except that we're going to remove leads and cost per lead. Okay, so I'm just going to go through everything for completion's sake. We'll go with campaign name, ad set delivery, budget, amount spent, impressions, cost per 1,000 impression, link clicks, CPC, CTR, CTR, all these are still important. What we're going to do is we're going to remove the last two columns, all right, leads and cost per lead. So what we're going to do is I'm going to add in this word called purchase. Okay, purchases, we'll click on total, value, and cost. All right, let's click at the bottom here. And again, you might notice something familiar is that we have all these boxes here, which is really not important. So we uncheck them. Okay, we uncheck all of this. All right, so we get to see purchases, which means like how many products being sold. So for example, let's say you're selling an ebook right now and you have sold 10 ebooks at $10 each as an example. Okay, so the purchase will show as 10, all right, 10 ebooks. Conversion value will be 10 times 10, it will be $100, okay? And if you're wondering how do we decide what's the value of the conversions, all that, I'll cover that in Facebook Pixel Creation, all right? And the next thing is cost per purchase. So let's just say, for example, we spent $100 and we have gotten 10 purchases, so the cost per purchase would be $10. So it's more like a break even going on right now, okay? So I'm just giving you a simple illustration, and that would lead to one more metric to include, which is purchase return on ad spend, or ROAS. So some marketers, funnily, they call it ROAS, okay, or ROAS. So if I say the word ROAS, this is exactly what I mean, okay? Return on ad spend, or in simpler terms for some people, it's return on investment. So again, if you had spent $100 and you made $100 back, you would have gotten a 1 ROAS. That means it's 1.0, all right? Now, let's just say that the books are $20, okay? And we had spent $100, we had sold 10 copies, times $20 is $200. So $200 divided by $100 in advertising spend, it will be ROAS of 2. That means we're getting a 2 times return on ad spend, okay? So that's exactly how purchase works. So what you can do right now is we can click on Save as Preset, and let's just call it purchase. All right, so that's exactly what this is right now. Now, you might be running an e-commerce store and you would have probably a few more metrics that you want to look at. So let's go to customize columns again, and we're going to add a few things such as add to cart. So you can see that there's add to cart over here, total. You can also add the value if you would like, and also the cost. It's pretty much similar here as well. Okay, so if you're integrating this with the likes of Shopify, WooCommerce, or any other e-commerce platforms, so these are the things that you normally would like to take a look at. So actually, you don't really need unique for this one. Okay, just total cost of add to cart. All right. So some people might even use a different term called initiate checkout or IC. Checkouts initiated could be another term that you're using as well, but this depends on the platform that you are using. Okay, so with that said, you can put add to cart here and click on save as preset, and I'm just going to call it e-commerce. All right, so these are some of the metrics that you will normally be looking at when you're doing a purchase conversion value, or if you're running e-commerce, you will want to add on the add to cart. So you can have a look at how many people are adding to cart, how many people are actually making the final purchases. You'll be able to track and decide from there. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can create a Facebook pixel, and later we're going to install this piece of code and put it onto your website. And this is imperative because this is how Facebook is able to track the visitors and the data that's going on your website, and that would contribute to your conversions campaign. So for every action taken, whether it's a purchase or sign up or add to cart or anything like that, that is exactly how Facebook can track the data and send it back to your ads manager. So let's suspend all the geek talk over here and just get down to doing it. All right, it's rather simple really, despite what I'm telling you right now. So what we're going to do is that we're now in your business manager account, and we're going to go to events manager. Okay, so it's on the left, click on events manager. Now if you're seeing this for the first time, I'm using another account by the way, so it's rather a bit established somewhat, but if you're doing this for the first time, you're going to see absolutely nothing here at all. It's going to be a blank slate. Alright, so what you want to do is on the left menu here, you'll click on this green plus icon called Connect Data Sources. So don't worry about the geek talk and all that, okay? So just follow me step by step on this. Now I have to say that before this video was recorded, adding a Facebook pixel used to be a step simpler, but not to worry, it is still quite easy to do it, alright? Just with a bit of changes. So with that said, I want you to select Web, click on Get Started, and you will select Facebook pixel and click Connect. Now you're going to give a name to a pixel, which again you can give it any name you want, only you can see it, and if you don't like the name you can always change the name afterwards. Now for the purpose of this example, I'm just going to name it after a website that I will be adding this pixel to. Alright, so I'm just going to call it Shopodium Co. You can call it any name you want, and over here you're going to add in your website URL. Although it says it's optional, you can still put in your website, and if you're asking, can I put this same pixel on multiple websites, that is still okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and do this right now. Okay, this is just an example. This will be your own website, and then we'll click on Continue. And yes, we're done. Okay, so what happens here is that we had already created a Facebook pixel somewhere in the background. I created this thing called Shopodium Co, and you might want to take note of the ID here. So at this point, we're going to add the Facebook pixel to your website. Now, this is where it gets a little bit open-ended because this really depends on what kind of website you're using. So I'm going to just use, for the purpose of example, WordPress. 1 in every 4 websites on the internet is using WordPress, so this is quite a common plugin. So if you're using WordPress, you will just click on this, okay? If there are any other integrations, let's just see what else that's available. We'll click on select another integration, and there are other partner integrations you can choose from. So if you're using Shopify, which is a very popular e-commerce platform, you can also click on Shopify and also follow the steps. At this point, you had already created your Facebook pixel, And assuming that you're using WordPress, this is how you add the Facebook pixel. Now I have to say that this step is actually quite intuitive. All you need to do is, we're going to continue from where we last left off. We click on WordPress and click confirm. And all you have to do is just follow the steps. But I'll demonstrate to you using one of this available WordPress accounts or a WordPress website so that you can have a look at how this is supposed to work. Okay. So first of all, select features. I recommend that you just click on advanced matching. You can leave this alone. We'll click on continue. And then the next step, you're asked to download a plugin. All right, so we just click on download. All right. And then the next thing we're going to do is, now at this point here, it's like I said, it's rather intuitive. We're just going to follow the steps that is being shown here. It's a screenshot step. So what you need to do right now is to log into your WordPress website. And for this purpose, I had done exactly just that. Okay, so I've logged into my WordPress website. I go down to plugins. So let's see where else it's going, right? And then it says add new. Okay, and that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to install the plugin. All right, so we go to plugins, we click on add new. Again, you have to be logged into your WordPress website. Okay, if you're using WordPress, this is exactly what you're going to do. We'll click on upload plugin, choose a file, and we'll select the zip file that we had just downloaded. Okay, and then we'll click on install now. This will take several seconds. And we are somewhat done. Okay, all we need to do is click on activate plugin, and yeah, that's it. Okay, the Facebook pixel has been installed. And if you want to be sure about it, there's this sort of like it's not really a warning, it's more like a heads up. Let's just click there for a while. Or if you want to go to settings, you can go to Facebook pixel, and you notice that your pixel ID number would already be here right away. So this also coincides with the ID number for this pixel. Okay, so it seems that we did the steps a little bit in advance. We're pretty much done already, and all we need to do is verify whether the pixel is working correctly. We'll put in the name of the website, which is shopodium.co. Let's click send test traffic, and what we're doing is that we're basically testing whether this works or not. All right, now this is a website that was just built rather quickly for the purpose of testing, so at least we know this works. And if you do it right, there'll be a green button here that says active. We'll click on continue, and yeah, we're actually already done. That's it. So at this point, setting up events, I'm going to skip this. It's not important right now. I'll talk about this in another video. But I just want to say that this is all there is to it when it comes to setting up your Facebook pixel on WordPress. As you can see, it's rather easy. We'll click close and we're done. After installing your Facebook pixel, the next thing that we're going to do is that we're going to create an event code. And this is what we need exactly to track successful actions that's being taken on your website, such as how do we know people that are signing up to your website through your landing page and they end up on the thank you page. So we need to install an extra piece of code or another step over there. Now I have to admit that I kind of miss the old way of setting things up, because I would say that's a little bit more intuitive, but this is also just as easy to set up, just in a different way. And I'm going to show you how to do just that. Now at this point, be sure that you have your landing page and your thank you page ready to go. Then we can do this step. Okay, so if you haven't done that just yet, pause this video, make sure that your landing page and your thank you page are ready to go, and then I'm going to show you how to set up your lead event. All right, okay, so let's get going. I'm going to just use one of my pixels here as an example to show you how to create an event code. Now just ignore all these things that you're seeing here right now, because if you're looking at a brand new account, you're not going to see any activity, and that's irrelevant here. Okay, so we select the pixel that you're going to be using. So in your case, you probably just created one. We'll click on add events, and we're going to select this thing called from the pixel. Okay, so we're going to click on this blue button called open event setup tool. Now over here, we're going to put in the address of your thank you page. So that means when people sign up to your landing page, they enter their details into your autoresponder, you're going to redirect them to this page called the thank you page. So you will put in your address for the thank you page here. So in my case, I'm just going to put one of the examples here. Make sure that the page is already published and it already exists. Okay, click on open website, here we are. So you will notice that we are visiting the thank you page for one of my landing page offers here, and there's this window that you can see at the top left, okay? Events on this page and all events, all right? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna click on lead. So we're going to track leads here, okay? You can see that there are many other types. There's view content, submit application, there's complete registration. It's up to you actually how you want to define it. So we're going to select leads. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to click on track a URL, okay? And select the event you like to track. You can call it anything you want. I'm going to go with leads because it's the most obvious. And URL equals to this exact address that I just published, okay? I'm going to click on confirm. So what this just means, if you look at the bottom right, setup complete, the lead event is live and being tracked. So what this means to say that from now on, whoever visits this particular page, the event will fire. So what does it mean by event firing is that for someone who comes from Facebook ad and they end up on this page, we're going to track it as one action called a lead, all right? And you can see that this is also applicable if you give it other names like complete registration, scheduling, whatsoever. But I just go with leads because it's the most straightforward and easy to understand. And once we're done, we just click on finish setup and we're done. Okay, that's really all there is to it. At this point, you're probably wondering, did we install the Facebook pixel correctly? And what about the event code? So to do just that, what you want to do is that you want to open this in your Google Chrome browser, and we're going to install an extension called FB Pixel Helper. It's free and very fast to install. And what we're going to do is I'm going to click on the first search result. We're just going to click add to Chrome, confirm, and we're done. That's it. Now, if you're wondering, does this work on Safari, Firefox, or any other browsers? To my knowledge, this only works in Google Chrome. So this, you might notice right now at the top right here that the Facebook Pixel Helper has been added to Google Chrome. So on websites that don't have the Facebook Pixel installed, it's going to show as gray color. And when you go to websites like this, I'm going to just refresh this for a while. And you're going to see that the pixel will be blue in color, which means that the Facebook Pixel has been installed. And we're going to click on that. And in this case, you see that there are a total of 4 pixels being added at this point. Now, of course, you don't have to add so many. I'm just showing you as an example of how the Facebook Pixel Helper works in showing, does a page actually have an FB pixel installed, and is it installed correctly? So you'll notice that there's an action called lead, which means that whoever arrives here from the Facebook ad will be counted as one lead. Okay, and you can call it any name you want, whether it's purchase, whether it's completed registration, initiate checkout, it's totally up to you. All right, it's just that in this particular example, I've installed a total of 4 Facebook pixels, but you can just install one and get going. All right, so this is a very useful tool. You can also spy on some competitors. It also gives insights into other websites, whether they actually have a Facebook pixel installed or not. Before we dive into the Facebook Ads Manager, what we're going to do first is that we're going to come up with the ad creative. And some of you might be asking, why are we writing this on a notepad or a WordPad compared to, why don't we just write it straight away into the Ads Manager as we do along? Now, my simple explanation is that when you use the Facebook Ads Manager, you're going to find that some parts of it load rather slow, and when you backspace, you delete and make some editing, it's going to take you a couple of seconds for everything to load, so it might add up to the frustration. So this is kind of why I personally prefer to write everything in a notepad like what you're seeing right now. And when it comes to the ad creative afterwards, we're going to just copy and paste the contents into Facebook Ads Manager and be done with it. So here we are right now on a notepad, and you're going to see that this is PAS, and you're wondering what is this all about. Okay, now there are obviously many different ways to write your ad copy or how to do the copywriting for your Facebook ads, and I'm going to show you a simple tried and tested formula that you can practically follow and apply it to multiple types of offers in multiple types of niches and markets and industries. So PAS basically stands for problem, agitate, and solution. Now, for all the purpose of example, we're going to do this for a PDF book on social media marketing. Okay, we're going to give away an ebook on social media marketing. All right, we'll just keep it simple. And again, you can pretty much imagine this for your product or any other product that you would like to promote. But right now, our offer here is that we're going to give away a PDF book on social media marketing. Now, the novice would practically just talk straight away about the book, and while there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, you want to attract people that would gravitate towards your message, and the best way to do is we're going to qualify them. Right? We'll talk about a problem. Now here's the thing, I'm just going to give you a heads up and a warning as well. This is a mistake that a lot of people do. They normally like to open up with a question, okay? And you might be thinking, hey, what's wrong with that? Okay, so people might open up with something along the lines of, are you struggling with getting new leads and sales, okay, from social media? So you might be thinking right now, isn't this a very good opener? Isn't this what you typically see in landing page or a sales page for that matter? And yes, there's nothing wrong with putting this on a sales page or a landing page. That's because they are called direct response copy. But when it comes to social media marketing, when it comes to Facebook ads, most of the time your advertisement is going to be shown to a stone cold audience, people that have not heard of you before. And the myth about Facebook ads is that it is not laser targeted, it is only roughly targeted. In other words, Facebook is showing your advertisement to people that it thinks, okay, that's a keyword here, that it thinks are interested in it. All right. Now, what if people that are reading this right now and say, hey, I don't have a business, or I'm employed right now, or this has got nothing to do with me? So you can see that this is not going to rhyme with a lot of people, and you don't want to be direct about it. And it gets even more extreme in some cases and sensitive. Like, for example, are you a Christian? Okay, or okay, are you fat? All right, okay, I'm just putting that as an example. I know it sounds kind of insulting, but guess what? These are the traditional mistakes that a lot of advertisers are doing right now without realizing. So the thing here is that you do not want to open with a very direct question like this, because again, your advertisement is going out to people that have not heard of you before, and we're not even sure whether they are the right people for saying this. Again, Facebook is serving your advertisement to people that it thinks is interested in it, okay? And that might not be true. So you don't want to be writing this kind of words. Instead, you should be rephrasing it to a third party or indirect point of view. So I'm going to rephrase this one in particular right now. Instead of saying, are you struggling with getting new leads and sales from social media? We're going to put something a bit more neutral and say, thousands of business owners struggle with finding new leads and sales every day. So I basically turn this into a third party statement, and guess what? If people cannot relate to this, that's still fine. And for anyone that can relate to this, they'll keep on reading. Okay, so this is an example of how we talk about a problem. Okay, I'm not sure whether it's really thousands, it could be millions of business owners, but I'm just making this up right now. Okay, now for example, you're targeting something a bit more niche. Let's say your offer is only for people of Christians, all right, or Christian religious belief, okay? And we know that we do not know what kind of religion that your audience are practicing right now, but let's say you really are targeting only the Christians. So what you can say is that at maybe XYZ cell group, we help Christian youths to so on, okay? So this is how you get around this kind of like tricky, maybe slightly sensitive markets, but at the same time, you know that you want to talk to this audience, and you don't want to offend anybody, all right? And the next one, I know this happens a lot in the health market. You don't want to be using words like fat, and even words like weight loss is a no-no on Facebook, okay? I'm not going to get into the exhaustive list of words that you can and cannot use, but I think it's safe to say that you want to be indirect. Okay, and the best way to be indirect about it is to talk about a statement like this: thousands of business owners struggle with finding new leads. We have helped Christian youths to empower and so on. And maybe this one we can talk about in the last 5 years, I have personally coached and helped individuals of all shapes and sizes to transform their dream body. There we go. All right. So I know this is not exactly a problem, But if you're in a market where you don't want to talk about problem, you can actually talk about desire as well, okay? But the reason why I recommend that you go with talking about a problem most of the time, because like it or not, most people always make a buying decision to get away from a problem that they're stuck with or they're just very fed up versus buying into a desire. So that's just how marketing psychology really is. But if you want to open with a desire, that's totally okay as well. I'm just saying that most people usually gravitate towards a problem and they're more interested in buying out of a problem than buying into a desire, okay? So with that said, any of this still works, and I'm just going to move on with the next part, okay? Agitate. Now, another traditional mistake that a lot of advertisers do is that they don't really drive the knife here or drill into the pain that people are experiencing. So agitate is more like a consequence of, because of that. Okay, so normally you want to do like because of that, as a result. Okay. So what is costing people for not solving that problem? So let's take this example right now. Thousands of business owners struggle with finding new leads and sales every day. Now that is a problem, okay? But if you just stop here, they're not going to really feel it. You want them to feel what is costing them for not getting the new leads and sales, okay? What price are they paying right now? So I'm going to just add here, because of that, entrepreneurs find it tough to scale their business, and it's no surprise that every 9 in 10 businesses or every 9 in 10 people go out of business in 5 years, in the first 5 years. Okay, so I know that you could pretty much improve this content, okay, in the first 5 years. There we go. All right, something like that. Okay, now you can drill in a little bit more on the pain. You want to agitate it. You want to remind people what is costing them not to fix this problem. Okay, now let's have a look at the other. Okay, I won't use a Christian example here because I just made that one on the fly, and maybe we'll talk about the body transformation here. Okay, as a result, most people are ashamed of their body. They lack self-esteem and can't be the best version of themselves. Even then, right, this is just an example I'm thinking on the fly right now, but I want you to spend a bit more time to drill in. What are they feeling right now for not solving that problem? Okay, so it could actually get a little bit more deep than what I'm writing here, but that's what agitation does, all right? And once you've done the agitation, only then we get into the solution. So this is the next part, all right? So you don't leave people hanging about their problem. You want to give them hope, okay? So basically this is what I call the hope aspect, all right? So like I said, I'm using an example of a PDF book on social media, so I use that as an example. This is why I wrote a PDF book called Social Media Secrets. Okay, I'm just making that up again. This is the culmination of my 5 years of online marketing experience. Could be more than that, it's totally up to you. And in the interest of demonstrating value, I am giving this book away for free. So after that, we put in the address here. Maybe it's your website.com//free book. Okay, whatever this website address is. Okay. Now, the reason why I say that in the interest of demonstrating value, I'm giving this book away for free, because here's the truth of the matter. A lot of people are giving stuff for the sake of giving away stuff, all right? There must be a reason. There's got to be a catch. And you want to let people know that there is a certain catch somehow. Why are you doing this, okay? In the interest of demonstrating value, I'm giving away this book for free, all right? So why am I doing this? Okay, why am I doing this? Truth be told, or rather, I find that there are a lot of self-anointed experts, okay, in quotes, that share half-baked and even dangerous advice that mislead other well-intentioned business owners. And I find it my moral obligation to show how it's really done. All right, so just come up with a reason why you're doing this and why should people listen to you. So this is a good part where you can just brag a little bit about your achievements or your perspective, okay? And then you can just do another call to action. Click here to get my PDF book. And then we'll just make a copy of the link again, all right? And there we go. That's it. So that's a PAS solution. Problem, agitate, solution. Now, at this point here, I'm just going to add something else. You will eventually be asked to add in what we call a headline. Now, the headline is not what you're thinking of right now. It's not something that appears at the top of the ad, but it appears at the bottom of the image or the video for your Facebook ad that we're going to do afterwards. So we're just going to call it something more straightforward. We're just going to call it free PDF book. Social media secrets. There we go. All right. And you're also going to be asked to add a description afterwards. This is optional, but this is the part where I would like to make a reminder or a call to action. Click on this post to claim your free download. Okay. And just one more thing I would like to add is that you can add emojis if you would like to. It's quite simple. All you need to do is just go to Google search this thing called emoji keyboard, and you can click practically any of this top results here, and yep, we can choose anyone that you want. There's a library of emojis you can choose from, or the fastest way is you just type search. Maybe I just type the word book inside, and I'll take a book cover, and I'm just going to paste it here. Copy and paste. All right. And again, we're going to copy and paste this entire thing afterwards into the what I call the Facebook Ads Manager in another exercise or in another video. Okay, so I'm just going to reduce this right now. And as a rule of thumb, when you're writing all this, let me just add a few more footnotes before I end this video. First and foremost, I would recommend that you use 10 emojis or less. Now, you don't have to use all of it. You can put in a little bit. But I recommend that you put a maximum of 10 and no more than that, because anything more than that, your Facebook ad will look rather spammy. It's going to get a low quality score, that's my guess, and it won't look that good. Okay, just use a little bit of emojis, it's fine, like 2 or 3 or a few of it, that's okay. All right. Now, how long or how short should your ad copy be? Now, the way I see it is that there's no real length, ideal length, but one thing's for sure, you don't want to be writing 2 or 3 lines. All right. Avoid 2-3 line ads because this doesn't tell enough. And the truth of the matter is that Facebook is a learning machine. In fact, the more that you write into your ad copy, the more you're telling Facebook, this is the kind of audience that I am looking for. Okay, so it's a lot preferable that you write at least a medium to a long post for your Facebook ad. And just to give you a sub-objective to it, 2,200 character limit if you want your ad on both FB and Instagram. Okay, now if you write more than 2,200 characters, it can still show on Facebook. There's actually no true limit to it, but of course at the same time you don't want to write a lot of fluff. But I just want you to know that if you write more than 2,200 characters, it will not show up on Instagram because of the character limit. Okay, so if you're particular about the character limit and you want your advertisement to show on both Facebook and Instagram, then you want to keep it 2,200 characters or below. So yeah, there you have it. Okay, we've just got an ad copy. Let's not overthink this part. And like I said, there are practically a lot of formulas out there. I use quite a few formulas, but the PAS one is a pretty good one and time tested as well. And another heads up is that since I talked about not being too direct at the start, you should avoid using you and your too often, okay, in your ad copy. All right, so just a heads up, I'm not saying you can't use the word you and your, I'm just saying minimize that as well. And I normally save it for the call to action. So what do I mean by call to action is basically towards the end of the ad copy, you want to make an instruction and you want to make an assertive command that click here to go to whichever website that you're putting in. Okay, so that's all there is to it. I'll see you in the next video, and let's put the magic together. This is the highlight of this entire Facebook advertising training. All the setup that we have done so far is leading up to this point. Now, if I were to sum up Facebook advertising, it's always in these 3 steps: campaign, ad sets, and ads. Now, before I get started, I just want to give you a heads up of what these 3 tabs or these 3 steps represent. Okay, in campaigns, we talk about the objective, which we're going to do afterwards. It's rather simple. I'm going to give you something that's very straightforward. And then when it comes to ad sets, this is basically where you set up your targeting, which country you want to advertise to, what kind of detailed interest, what kind of audience, age group, gender, and so on. Okay. And third, last but not least, would be your ad creatives. And this is where you're going to be putting in your ad copy, which we have discussed on how to do it in another video, where your images are, where your videos are. Okay. Now, this video might take quite a bit of time, but it's going to be well worthwhile. So I want you to follow me every step of the way and pay close attention. I don't want you to do anything else. Just follow what I have to do here. And after this, you have a lot of time to do your own setup, your own Facebook advertising, campaign creation, and so on. All right, now let's get started. Now be very sure that first of all, you are already in your ads manager. So this is one of the ads manager that I'm using right now. If you're not sure how to get here, I'm just going to backtrack a little bit. You go to the top left. And in your business manager, you can either click on the ad account here or the ads manager link over here as well. All right, so they both go to the same place. Let's click on it. And you will arrive in your ads manager, and this is where we're going to be creating your advertisement. Okay, we're going to make the first one, and at this point I had already stand by a test Facebook ad copy with a test image to show you how this is done. Now for all intents and purposes, we're going to do a conversions campaign, and we're going to do this with the intention of generating leads. Now if you're going to be doing this because you want to get purchases and all that, it's still the same thing. Okay, it's the same mindset, the same setup. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to click on create, and we're going to do the first step, campaigns. If you had already set up your Facebook pixel and you had already added the event codes and the Facebook pixel code to your web pages, then you can do this. All right, now I know some of you might be thinking right now, what about the rest of these options like brand awareness, reach? Doesn't traffic make more sense? Are we doing lead generation? Should we be clicking on this? Well, I want you to ignore everything else and just follow me. Okay, I know I've said that like a couple of times already, and I might remind you every now and then. It's because discipline is of the utmost importance right now. It's very tempting to click anywhere else. I don't want you to do that, because if you do that, you're going to be making quite some costly financial mistakes. So please don't do that, okay? Pay close attention to what I'm doing here. Follow this to the letter, okay? Now click on conversions, and I just want to tell you up front that when I do campaign objective, I would say like 90 to even 100% of the time, I do conversion campaigns for my ad accounts. I rarely choose any others. And if you're wondering why I don't want to do this, or what do all these other campaign objectives represent, I'll explain that in another video. So right now, do first, understand later. Got me? Beautiful. All right, so we're going to choose conversions, and we're going to click this pull down menu here, and we're going to give it a name. All right, so in this case of this example here, I'm going to be giving away a free PDF ebook. So I'm just going to call it PDF book, okay, or conversions PDF book. So I normally like to name the campaign objective here, so it's quite straightforward. So I'm going to call it conversions. The next thing we're going to do is ad set and ad now. This is a bit too early to set up right now, okay? I'm just going to click on skip ad set, because this is quite a setup in its own. You have to be thorough about it. There's no point giving it a name right now. Let's skip this part, click on continue. And we're now reviewing our setups for the campaign, okay? We're still on the first step called campaign. We haven't gone to the second step yet. So we're just going to confirm the campaign name. Yes, this is the name of the campaign. You can change the name later. We can pretty much ignore all of this right now. Ignore all of this. And you might be asked campaign budget optimization, or CBO. Now, this is something that should be covered only in an advanced level, but for beginners, I will recommend that you turn this off. In fact, when I advertise for the first time for any new campaigns, I do not use campaign budget optimization, or CBO. Again, if you're wondering what this is all about, I don't think it's time for you to worry about that just yet. It's a little bit too early, and no worry, you can still get results with or without CBO. This is something that's reserved only on a higher level, or as you spend more money with Facebook ads, or as you get more advanced, then you can get into CBO, okay? But right now, just ignore it. And what I want to say is that as far as campaign setup goes, it's actually very easy. You can pretty much leave all of this alone and make sure that campaign budget optimization is turned off. And we're going to click publish. And yep, we've already done the first step. See how easy that was? Okay, so I'm going to click on close. And we're not done yet. We're only just starting out like step 1 out of 3. Now we're going to step number 2. So now it's quite easy to see this right now because this is the only campaign that we have at the moment. And we haven't set up anything else yet. Okay, so as you start creating more campaigns, it might get a little bit more cluttered. So what you want to get a habit is that you want to click on this, tick this box so that you see every ad set or advertisement that's related to this campaign. So I'm going to move on to the next part, which is ad set. Okay, so we're now on step 2. And in step 2, we have not created any targeting just yet. Okay, so we'll click on create. And we're going to give it a name. Okay, so now I'm normally quite reluctant to give it a name at this point because we haven't set up anything just yet, so I'm just going to call it a test at the moment. Okay, so I know this might sound a bit weird, just bear with me. We'll call it test right now because I just want to create the ad set here. Okay, now there was a previous setup and I just want to let you know that as of the time of this video, this is the newest interface. Some older Facebook accounts might see an older interface where some things might look a little bit different, but rest assured that it's just a cosmetic thing. The features are pretty much the same. Okay, so right now we're on step 2 and that is creating the ad set. So I've just given it a name called test, but again, I do not want you to use this name. We're going to visit this later. Okay, and I have a good reason for that. Now what's going to happen here is that I'm going to go through every step of the way in creating your ad set. Now, creating a campaign was dead easy and you just saw that. That was done in practically a couple of clicks. And if I were not explaining it to you, it would have been done in just mere seconds. Now, ad set might take a bit of time, especially if you are an absolute beginner. I remember when I did this the first time, I was so new to it that I didn't know what I was doing, so just bear with it. But with that said, it's something that you will make it second nature eventually as you start running more Facebook ads. Okay, now you might notice something on the right hand side here. That's the audience definition with a potential reach, and there's a speedometer here of sorts. All right, now this account is showing to Malaysia, but in actuality you can pretty much advertise to any country in the world. All right, so let's start off with conversion here. You choose website, we're going to leave it be. The pixel, now we have created one pixel here before, so this is the only pixel that we're using. All right, your pixel will appear here, and we're going to choose a conversion event called lead. Now here's the thing, if your pixel is brand new, you're going to see that this color will be red. So it might not be a nice thing to see, but don't be alarmed, because the moment the first action is taken or the first lead comes in, this will be green immediately. So don't be afraid or feel bad if this is a red color right now. If it's a new account, it's always red, so don't worry about it. In fact, let me just take a look. You see, like, I don't use any of these actions at all. Let's say if I try add to cart, okay, it's still red. But in our case, we're going to go with lead, all right? And if you're tracking for purchases or you're optimizing for purchases, then you will obviously choose purchase, all right? But right now, for the purpose of this example, let's go with lead, all right? Now let's scroll down. Dynamic creative, we can leave this alone. Offer, leave it off, all right? That basically you don't have to touch any of this. Budget, okay, so you can see this is folded down a little bit. Let's click on show more options. You can pretty much just let it run as it is, and you can turn off the campaign or ad set at any time, which I'm going to show you how to do it afterwards. Okay, we'll just leave this alone, and the next thing we're going to take a look at is the audience. And now this is probably a little bit more important here. Okay, now here's the game. All right, the game here is that we're going to aim to make the potential reach anywhere from 200,000 to 1 million people, within that range. All right, now you're wondering why is it that we're lowering it down to 200,000 to 1 million people? Wouldn't it be better to show to a more targeted group of people? Why not like 40,000 people, 10,000 people, or anything like that? That is not how Facebook works. Now I'm going to give you a short explanation right now. There is a reason why we're doing what I just told you. To put it in very simple English or very simple terms, it's that, first of all, we're normally advertising on a low budget, like $5 to $10 a day, all right? And even if you're spending a few $100s a day, that's still considered a small budget in the grand scheme of things. And you're going to use that to try to reach as many people as possible. So obviously that's not really going to happen, all right? And the other thing that comes into play is the Facebook algorithm. So for example, if you're going to put a potential reach of only 10,000 people, yeah, I know you might envision 10,000 people might be a lot of people right now, but what's happening here is that your Facebook ad is only showing to a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of the audience. So, and the way Facebook works better is that with a bigger audience, Facebook has a bit more room to try to look for people that are most likely to take action on your ad or on your offer, okay? So just trust me on that. We're gonna put a potential reach of minimum 200,000 people. 1 million would be ideal, but if you overshoot a little bit, like 1.1, 1.2 million people, that's okay. And if you're wondering, what if I want to target 2 to 3 million people or 5 million people, that's okay, but that would be recommended when you advertise on a higher daily budget, such as hundreds of dollars a day or thousands of dollars a day. Then that might make a bit more sense, okay? So with that said, right now for beginners, I always recommend that people start off with 5 to 10 US dollars a day. If you're gonna go $20 a day, that's okay as well. But I think that's one of the wonders of Facebook, because at this point in time, you can still advertise relatively inexpensive, validate your offer before you scale, all right? So with that said, now, in this test offer or this example offer, I'm going to be giving a PDF book on my landing page, and I'm asking for email addresses. So I want to target, let's say, United States, all right? So I'm going to just remove this country. I'm just going to put United States, all right? So it's a really big country, all right? And you can see that there's 230 million Facebook users in the United States, all right? Which is really, really a lot. And obviously we need to lower that number to 200,000 to a million people, or 1.2 million people for the matter, okay? Now, here's what we're going to do. If you notice that the location here, people living or recently in this location, we're going to change it to people living in this location. Now this really depends on some countries where you might be making an offer that citizens of that country would take part in, okay? Sometimes, for example, if you're doing insurance, you're selling properties, and usually you're selling it to another person who is a citizen, then you want to make sure that this offer shows to as many of those citizens as possible. So if you put people living in or recently in this location by default, someone can be on a holiday or travel to the United States, and they'll still see your advertisement, and they may not be your ideal target. So you don't want that to happen, okay? So just click on people living in this location, and off we go, all right? Next, age group. Now this is totally depending on your nature of business. Sometimes if you are you're expecting to sell some high ticket offers, then it might not make sense to target people that are a little bit too young, with not much of a disposable income. And this differs from country to country. It really depends, all right? So in my case, because I'm targeting mostly established business owners, I'm gonna go with 27 years old and above, all right? And it's still a lot of people, 180 million people. So maybe I'll just go with like 55, not too old, all right, 27 to 55, okay? Potential reach, 130 million people. Gender, both, all right? I don't discriminate, but sometimes you might be running a very niche business. Like for example, if you're selling women-related products, then obviously it makes sense that you choose only women, all right? But in this case, I'm going to just go with both, all right? And the next part is detailed targeting. Now you're going to notice this box here in advance. I'm going to uncheck this, okay? You don't need targeting expansion. Be sure to uncheck this. And you might notice that I have skipped the detailed targeting. I'm going to get to that afterwards. We're going to go down to languages first. And I'm going to type in English all right? Now, one of the beauties about the language here is that you can advertise in any language that you want. You can advertise it in Chinese, for example, or any other languages. So, but what's important here is that you need to be congruent. So that means, for example, if your advertisement is going to be in Chinese, then you're going to put language Chinese over here. And what's going to happen is that Facebook will target users that normally converse or communicate in Chinese. All right, that's just one example. But since my advertisements are written in English, then English it is. Okay. Now, with that said, let's just go with show more options. All right, there's nothing really to look at. And with that said, we have a potential reach of 120 million people, which is still rather huge. So this is where detailed targeting comes in. So to put it in very simple terms, we're going to type in the interest of the people that are interested in that particular topic or field, and based on what Facebook thinks. So what I want to say is that Facebook is a rather smart learning machine, and it kind of tracks people's behavior, and we're going to maximize our chances reaching those kind of people that might be interested in your offer. So in my case here, I'm giving away a PDF book for this particular example about, guess what? Social media marketing, all right? So I'm going to type in digital marketing and let's see what comes out, all right? Digital marketing as an interest. So you can see that quite some suggestions here. We're going to click the first one, and we have 9.3 million people, all right? So it's still rather broad. I'll try to like reduce this somewhat, but let's just say you have a shortage of reach. What you can do is you can click on suggestions and type in any other closely related topics or interests that people have. Let's just try social media marketing and let's see what happens, all right? I'm going to remove digital marketing and social media marketing. So we've got 15 million people, so that's even more, all right? Now, this is the part where you can either target by the state. So I'm just giving you some suggestions right now. You can target by states. Let's just try California, all right? California. And I'm just going to try digital marketing again. And now we have 1.5 million potential reach, all right? So we're getting somewhere. Maybe let me just try adjusting the age up a little bit. How about 30 to 55 years old? 1.2 million people. I think this is a very good number to work with, okay? So California, 30 to 55, digital marketing, all right? So we have at least a potential reach of 1.2 million people. There we go, all right? So we're pretty much set up for this. So you can see that what I did here is that I just kind of play around with the settings here until I get a potential reach of 1.2 million people. But let me just show you another example. Let's just say you insist on showing to the entire United States, all right? So obviously it's going to be a whopping 7.4 million people at age 30 to 55. What I can do is that I can type in the names of public figures or gurus in this market. Let's say, for example, Gary Vaynerchuk, all right? So this is what I call a passionate keywords. Basically, people that are into that topic will definitely know who these public figures are, all right? So we got 3.9, which is still quite a lot, all right? Let's try maybe, how about Grant Cardone, okay? 4.7 million people. Wow, this is really, really huge, okay? But I'm just letting you know that this is kind of like the mindset that we follow when it comes to typing out all these keywords and things like that. Maybe I'm just going to type in another one. I'm just going to type in email marketing, all right? I'm just going to remove the public figures, email marketing. Okay, we have like 1.3 million. Wow, pretty good, all right? So let's just say I want to target people that are interested in email marketing at 1.3 million people, but it covers the entire United States. So this is one ad set that I can go with already. And like I said, a minimum of 200,000 to a million people, but if you overshoot a little bit like 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, that's still okay, all right? Now, placements. Some experts might tell you to just leave it at automatic placements, but I would differ here. I would recommend that you go for manual placements and remove audience network, all right? Now, why would I want to do such a thing? Because I want this advertisement to show up on Facebook, Instagram, and Messenger, but I do not want this to show up on audience network. So what is audience network? Now, this is basically advertisements that show up on some partner-approved websites like CNN or any other news sites like Daily Mail and so on. And in my experience running this, I find that even though Facebook distributes a small budget to audience network, the leads quality that come from audience network is usually poor, and it's quite susceptible towards spam bots and hacking for some strange reason. So to put it short, go for manual placements, just uncheck the audience network and you are good to go. You're not losing anything anyway. All right, so after this we'll go to the next one, and yep, this is really all there is to it. Okay, so there's one last thing I'm going to add here. We have not done yet, is the ad set name. Now we're going to give a formula to this so that we know that every time we take a look at the ad set name, we know that this is the targeting. So this is kind of like the formula that I would recommend you follow. I'm just going to call it FB, IG. So basically it means that this is showing on Facebook and Instagram. The next one will be a location, which is United States, USA. Age group with 30 to 55 years old, male, female, and we're going to put in the keyword or detailed interest called email marketing. So by seeing Facebook and Instagram, we know that this is targeting USA, ages 30 to 55, male, female, that are interested in email marketing. So this is how I named the ad sets. Okay, once we're done, we click on publish. With that said, you might notice that there was a slight error here, which is the advertisement which we have not yet created. So we are done with step 2. We're now going to go to step 3, and that's creating the advertisement. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close this docking panel and have this ticked, and then I'm going to go to ads for the one ad set. So you might notice that there's this draft that was created in advance, and although you can create a new ad, we can just edit what we have over here. Okay, we'll click on edit. And we're going to create our ad creative. So we had just done step 2 just now. That's the targeting, what kind of audience, what kind of country we're going to be going for. And now we're going to go for putting in your first ad. Okay. Now you can call it any name you want. I'm just going to call it post 1. And the next thing we're going to do is Facebook page, which we already have added in. If you have an Instagram account that's integrated or connected, you can just put it here. Otherwise, you can just use the default use selected page. And I think that's the wonderful part, because this allows you to advertise on Instagram without owning an Instagram account. How cool is that? Okay, the next step we're going to go is create the ad. So there are 3 choices here, and we're going to go with single image or video. I personally have tested all these 3, and I still find that single image or video still converts the best. So let's just go ahead. Okay, there's this cool part called full mobile experience. This is totally up to you, but I would recommend that for simplicity's sake, we're just going to uncheck this right now, and we're going to go on to the next part. Okay. Now at this point, if you already done your previous exercise, you already have your ad copy on standby, because what we're going to do is we're just going to copy and paste it over here. I don't encourage people to write manually into the primary text, because you will find that the Facebook Ads Manager will load rather slow somehow. When you make changes, when you delete, when you backspace and you type again, it gets a little bit slow. So this is why I would recommend that you type everything that you need in a notepad or a word pad, and copy and paste the contents in it. But let's not get too ahead of ourselves. Let's go to media first. We're going to click on add media, and this is where you can add an image or a video. And right now we're going to keep things simple. I'm going to click on add image. And as a brand new account, there are no images for you to use, all right? So there are 2 ways you can go about doing it. The first way is that you can upload an image that you already have created, and we can use it. The alternative, if you want to keep things a bit fast and simple, and also for split testing reasons, is that you can click on this top here and choose stock photos. And the cool thing here is that Shutterstock has joint ventured with Facebook to bring you all these royalty-free stock photos that are pretty good in quality. All right, you can use any pictures that you want here. I'm just going to type in the word social media and let's see what comes out. Okay, so it might take a while because there's like a lot of pictures here, and let's just say this looks interesting. I'm going to take this one, but I just want to give you a heads up or a warning here. Just because Shutterstock has joint venture with Facebook to bring you all the stock photos. It doesn't mean that all these pictures are compliant with the Facebook policy. I'm going to give you an example here, like this one called social media. All right, let me just choose this for a while, and so you can preview it for yourself. Now, one of the things that Facebook doesn't like is when you put in pictures that have huge text that cover the pictures, like this one. All right, I'm not sure whether this will pass or not, but basically anything with a 20% or more text coverage in the Facebook picture, you're gonna find that Facebook will either not show it a lot, which means you get a high cost per 1,000 impression, or even outright disapprove this image, even though it's part of the archives in the stock photos. Okay, another one, I'm just going to clear this image for a while. So if you don't want an image, you just click clear, and then you just click again, add image. All right, I'm going to stock photos, and if you're going to add revealing pictures, like say for example a bikini, all right, even though you can see a lot of these pictures here, but there's a very high chance it will get disapproved as well, because these are all revealing pictures. Okay, so just because these pictures are here, it doesn't mean that it's compliant. And you can see that even the warning and the heads up is here already. They already made a disclaimer. Some stock images may not comply with Facebook policies. Read our advertising policy before selecting an image. All right, so with that said, let's just go back to social media, and I'm just going to go with one of them. All right, let's not think too much. Let's go with this. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add the primary text. Okay, so let's just say this is the picture that we're going to go with. Let's not think too much right now, and I'm going to just copy and paste content over here. Okay, so you can see how fast that was when I just copy and pasted this add copy into the primary text, and you can see that there's a preview over here. Later I'm going to show you how you can preview this ad proper. All right, now I'm not going to explain too much, but other than letting you know that ideally if you're going to use emojis, you want to keep it below 10. So that's like 3, 6, 7, 8, 9 emojis. Okay, just good. Anything below 10 emojis is possible. Anything more than that, it might hurt the user experience and your ad score with Facebook. So keep your emojis below 10. And as you can see, that it's quite readable in that the paragraphs are no more than 1 to 3 lines each. It's readable. And next thing we're going to go is for the headline. The headline is the big text that appears at the bottom of the image. I'm just going to copy and paste that. Okay. And even though the description is optional, I still recommend that you paste something here as well, because people that are browsing Facebook on a laptop or a desktop computer will be able to see it most of the time. So, but in mobile, they won't see it. So I think, you know what, it's okay to still add something here for completion's sake. And next, we're going to go down to destination website, and you're going to put in the website URL. So this is the link to your sales page or your landing page for that matter. The address that I'm putting here is made up, by the way. It's obviously not real. I'm just showing you as an example. But of course, please make sure that this website already exists and that your Facebook pixel is already installed correctly. And after that, display link, you might notice it's the same. You can actually just copy back here and remove the HTTPS to make it look a little bit neater. And there we go. All right. Next, call to action. This is the button that appears here. Now, I've tried a lot of other buttons here. I've tried no button, I've tried download, and I find that learn more is the best call to action. So let's not think too much. Let's just go with the best default option, learn more. Okay. And yeah, we're done. That's it. Okay. So okay, just ignore this error up here. This is just a test account. By right, you shouldn't be seeing this, but I just want you to know that this is how to set up and create your ad on Facebook. And this is the third and final step. And once we're done, we're just going to click publish. Yeah, and that's really all there is to it. So I know that there's a slight error here because, like I said, I'm using a test account right now. But what's going to happen is in ad set delivery, this is going to show in review, and Facebook will review your ad. It might take as quickly as several minutes to even like several hours. If your account is brand new, just allow for 24 hours. And after that, as your standing increases with Facebook, then you're going to find your approval might get a little bit faster and faster. But yeah, that's really all there is to it when it comes to creating your advertisement on Facebook in 3 easy steps. Okay. Now, of course, I just want to give some parting words in this particular video, in that we've just created one advertisement, and once this gets approved, you should move on with creating a second advertisement onwards, so that you can run more ad creatives, test more, let Facebook find a winner, and yes, just scale your business from there. Okay, so that's all there is to it. I'm going to take this time to explain the rest of the campaign objectives and why I am almost always using the conversions campaign. To a smaller extent, I use lead generation, and very seldom I use engagement, but I seem to ignore everything else. And why should you consider doing that as well? Okay, so I'm just going to give you a quick rundown on the other campaign objectives, just so you know why we always use conversions most of the time, and to a small extent even lead generation or engagement, but we pretty much ignore the rest. Okay, so let's take a look at brand awareness and reach. So if you take a look at this icon here, it says show your ads to people who are most likely to remember them, and reach sounds rather similar. Show your ads to the maximum number of people. So this is kind of like where Boost Post actually comes in. And if you have done any Facebook marketing before, or you have clicked the Boost Post button, then you know that you will get a lot of reach, perhaps for more bang for the buck. Apparently you get a lot of likes, a lot of social proof, a lot of reactions, people commenting even, but there's a problem with that. You're not getting even the interested prospects, because what's happening here is that it's just showing advertisements to people that have the habit of commenting and liking. So we don't really want that going on. Okay, so that's why I stay away from brand awareness and reach. I had pretty much not used them at all. Okay, now the next one, and this is a deception here. Okay, traffic. Send people to a destination like a website, app, Facebook event, or messenger conversation. Now when you take a look at, out of all the campaign objectives here, this seems to be one of the considerations that make a lot more sense, right? But I'm just going to warn you up front, stay away from using traffic objective, okay, despite the way it sounds, because what's happening here is that you're going to get most probably a lot of clicks. So you get a low cost per click. A lot of people are clicking on your Facebook ad, and it might seem exciting initially, just like Boost Post. But the problem is that Facebook is serving your advertisement to people or Facebook users that are very click happy. That means they have a certain behavior of always clicking on things, and you might know some friends or some Facebook users that are like that. Now imagine that your advertisement is going out to people like that, and you're not going to get any purchasers or even a lead for that matter. So don't do that. It's rather deceptive. Stay away from it. Okay, I've spent quite a bit of money doing this. I do test it every now and then, and if you don't believe me, feel free to spend a little bit of your money to test this out, and you will find that this is also the case. All right, so out of all the campaign objectives here, this is probably the most deceptive, and where a lot of people initially will lose their money. So stay away from it. Okay, always go with conversions. Now I'm just going to move down chronologically. Let's go with engagement. So this is where you can get like post engagement, page likes. All right, so if you're ever buying likes, this is normally what the campaign objective is. Now I'm not against people buying page likes, especially if you're just starting out. You clearly do not want to have an empty Facebook page with just like 0 to 1 like. And if you're not able to get some of your friends or acquaintances to come and like your page, but you want to look a little bit more credible, then it's okay to buy a bit of likes. But again, I don't recommend that you spend a lot of budget buying page likes, because that's not where the income is going to come from. That's not where the action is going to be at. All right. So if you're going to buy page likes, you can go ahead. I'm just saying, don't spend a lot of money doing that. Okay. Spend most of your budget on conversions. All right. So next up, we go to app installs. Okay, this is not applicable unless you're doing apps. Let me just backtrack a little bit. Okay, there's this thing called post engagement, where you get like people sharing and commenting and all that. Now Again, this is like probably my third distant campaign objective. But if you're running a restaurant and you're doing promotions, then doing an engagement post would make a lot of sense. So for example, if you're running an F&B or a restaurant and you're doing maybe like a buy one free one meal promo, 50% off, visit at lunch hour, like 12 to 3 p.m, you're gonna get a very good deal at our restaurant. Then okay, it makes sense using an engagement, because people here have this behavior of sharing good deals, so it kind of makes sense to use engagement for F&B and restaurants or something like that. Okay, so app installs only if you're having apps. Video views. Now some people do run campaign objectives for video views. So if you're expecting to run viral videos and you want it to get seen as much as possible and have people share them, then it's okay. But I just want you to know that even I don't really use this. So if you're playing on a limited budget, I do discourage that you use video views. All right. Now next up, lead generation. Now, lead generation is a campaign objective you can choose if you want to get people signing up to a form without having a website. So this works especially for businesses that are straightforward, such as car wash, dentistry, aesthetics, insurance, financial planning, and so on. So it's quite straightforward in that when people click on your Facebook ad, there'll be a form that pops up, and this can also appear on Instagram. You don't need a website for this. And all people have to do is just leave their name, email, phone number, or any details that you ask, and the details will be submitted to your Facebook page. All right, and that's where you do your own follow-up calls from that. So this works especially if you are expecting to meet up in person, or you're expecting to do phone calls, or calling up the prospect. Then lead generation will make a lot of sense. All right, so this is like my distant second campaign objective. And messages. All right, if you want to have people message you directly on Messenger, then you can select messages as well. But I would say that this is probably one of my least favorite campaign objectives as well, because it's a lot of work. You're expecting to write to a lot of people, unless you're doing quite some fact finding, and then that's okay. All right. But one of the pros is that you don't really need a website for this. But with that said, conversions is really where the action is at. I would say that almost all the time, like 80, 90, or even 100% of the time, you'll be using campaign objective, and that's what I teach in my training. Okay, so I've already covered that in greater detail in other videos already, so this needs no going through anymore. And followed by catalog sales and store traffic. So catalog sales only makes sense if you are having a catalog on your Facebook page, and store traffic if you are running Facebook ads to e-commerce. But then again, you should still be using conversions. So that is what all these campaign objectives are in a nutshell. I've already explained to you what they're all about, and now you know why we always go with conversions, and we pretty much don't quite care about the rest, only to a small extent lead generation, and to a smaller extent engagement. Okay, so yeah, that's really all there is to it. Now at this point, you would have already created your first Facebook ad, okay, and preferably that you run at least 3 advertisements at any given time, so that instead of just putting 1-2 advertisements where Facebook would, I would say it's either a hit or miss, at least with 3 advertisements, Facebook would be able to rotate them and pick the best winner of them all. So at this point, you can create 3 different Facebook ads, all images, or you can do a mix of images and videos. So for example, you can have 2 images and 1 video running at a time. And in this particular training, what I'm going to do with you right now is that I'm going to show you a very simple but an exciting tool as well, that you can use a built-in video maker within Facebook Ads Manager, and that's pretty wonderful. Okay, now when it comes to creating video ads, it is a big topic in itself, and you might be getting ideas that, okay, I need to shoot a video on my phone, I need to do some post-production and things like that, which could be quite an open-ended thing and maybe fit for another course. But with that said, I want to stick to Facebook ads right now, and I want to show you a simple way for you to create your own video ads with an available tool within Ads Manager itself. And this is something that takes only a couple of minutes or a few minutes of your time, and it's dead simple. All right, so what we're going to do right now is that we are here on the 3rd step in creating the Facebook ad. So I'm just going to cut the chase here, and at the top here we're going to give it a name. So I'm just going to call it video 1. It's totally up to you, whatever name you want to call it. And I'm just going to assume that this is your Facebook page and your Instagram account. We'll just leave it be. When we go to the bottom here, create ad, we'll click on single image or video. We'll leave it at that. And you will notice that you have an option of adding media, or you can create a slideshow or create video. Now, even though this both might sound different, but I would say that this still leads to the same result, where we're going to create animated slides. Okay, so despite the different sounding of the name, you're actually given two types of category of templates. Okay, so let's just click on create slideshow, and as you can see here, there are templates for you to choose from. All right, and if you go to click on create video, it's pretty much similar as well, but they have different types of templates going on. All right, and that's pretty good. So with that said, I'm just going to click on create slideshow. What I want to say is that they all lead to pretty much different types of templates for your videos. So what this does is that you can put in any images that you want. You can add in the text and change a little bit of customization, especially on the text colors, and off we go. All right, so you can see here that there are different types of previews, different types of videos that you can animate the images on. So I'm just going to take a random one right now. Okay, maybe I'll just go with I'll go with this one. All right, something simple. Okay, let's just say this is my video ad of choice. I'm going to click on continue, and it's broken down into scenes. Okay, so we can choose an image for each of them. Okay, I'm going to click on this one, and you can choose any images that you already have in your account, or you can just upload, which is exactly what I'm going to do. Okay, so there we go. If you want to do a preview, you can click on the play button on the right and see what comes out. Okay, and then there's the second scene. You can add in another picture again. Yeah, okay, it's kind of random, but I'm just proving a point to you. And you can actually add a text. Okay, so for example, I'm just going to call it Master Social Media Marketing. Now, I want to give you a heads up that one of the bad things about doing this built-in video maker is that the text is pretty limited in the number of characters. So you want to make sure that you know what you're writing here. Okay, so if it's hard to read, you can click on background color, and you can even change the opacity, which means the transparency, and it'll look a little bit better as well. You can change the text color as well if you would like to. Just you can add in a color code, or you can use this color picker. All right, so I'm just going to go with white. I think it's good enough. You can even change the font, and I think this is slightly generous, although not that many, but still works. You can even position where you want the text to appear. All right, pretty cool. Let's say if you want this to appear in the middle, that's fine as well. So let's play this video again. There we go. All right, and scene number 3, you can add in another image as well. I'm just going to add another random one, and there we go. All right, so we can add another text. Normally when it comes to the last scene, I would always like to make it a call to action. Click here to download now. All right, again, you might see it's a bit hard to see. We click on background image color, and there we go. You can even change the text color as well. All right, let's say this is what we want. We put this in the middle. Change the font if you want. Okay, this looks better. And yes, let's play it one more time. So guys, can you see how simple this is? All right. Now, of course, I know this was done rather simply in terms of the pictures. I'm just using this as an example to show you. And let's click continue. And what happens here is that you're going to review it. And this is what will appear in probably an Instagram story. And we'll click on use video. So what's going to happen right now, it's going to take a couple of minutes for the video to get rendered. And I'll tell you what, talk to you when this is done. Alright, so that took a couple of minutes and we are practically done with the video, and that's it. Alright, so the rest looks familiar to you. This is the part where we add in the text, the headline, and the description, which I'm not going to repeat here right now, but I just want you to know that it's pretty much the same thing. Okay, I'll tell you what, maybe just give me a couple of a few seconds. I'm going to just do this part really quick. And there we go. All right, so I know I pretty much skipped that part a little bit because this was already covered in a previous video, but I just want to show you that this is how the Facebook ad would look like when you put this with a video. Okay, so I'm just going to play this again, which I know this is a very quick work. I guess when you choose your pictures and you choose your words wisely, then it's going to pan out rather nice, okay? But as you can see, it took me no software or third-party app to do this. You don't really need sound or music for that matter, because most people normally watch in private, maybe outside on a mobile data, and they pretty much get the idea. And I have some winning advertisements that are based on a video ad, so simple, so do not discount that, okay? So once we're done, we'll click on review, and we're pretty much done, okay? We just click save the draft. And what we're going to do is make sure that this is in publish status, so be sure that you click on publish, and this will enter into a review state by Facebook. And there we go. That took several seconds. We are practically done, okay? And if you check out the delivery status, it's in review. And if you look at some of the previous advertisements, this all learning. That means it's currently active, okay? So yeah, now you know how to create image ads and you know how to create video ads. No Facebook advertising training is complete without reviewing how the advertisement campaign is going to be like in the next few days. So if you have followed all the training up until now, I just want to say congratulations, you have been taking action. And still, what is uncertain is what's going to happen in the next few days after you launch a Facebook ad campaign. And I'm going to show you how I take a look at my Facebook ad campaigns. How do I decide which one's winning, which ones we should kill off, and what do we do after that? And this is something that a lot of marketers don't really teach in their training, or maybe they kind of reserve it for the next level of training, okay? So with that said, I'm taking a look into one of these simpler accounts right now. Even though the conversion rate or the currency is in Malaysian ringgits, that's not important right now, because this can be in US dollars, it can be in pounds, it can be in euros, it's still the same thing, okay? Now, this campaign is a purchase conversion. That means we are doing a direct sale from FB to a sales page, all right? And one thing you want to take a note of right now is the window of time. So at the top right, this is currently at today's date. And if you click on the top right, pull down, you can see what happened yesterday, the last 7 days, or last 14 or last 30 days, or whichever window you want to do. Or you can even do a custom range as well, okay? Now, if you take a look at today, you can see that there had been 3 purchases with a return on ad spend of 2.88, which is pretty healthy, all right? To me, anything above 2 is pretty good. If you get higher than that, then it's even better. It's not uncommon for people to get a rather high ROAS, or return on ad spend, all right? So here's the thing. One of the common mistakes that beginners make, or they kind of chicken out, is that when they don't see results in the next 1 day or the next few hours, or they spend a little bit of money, then they chicken out, all right? So you don't want to be making that mistake. And you got to give Facebook some time to not only understand your offer, you got to give it time to learn about it and show your advertisements to enough people, all right? And on a human level as well, you know, sometimes people have not heard about you before. They might not warm up to you just yet. And don't be surprised that normally for a lot of campaigns that get started, it doesn't do well, okay? If you do well initially, then more power to you. But I want you to know that even on an expert level where people are making millions of dollars, they will always tell you the same thing, where the first campaign usually doesn't perform very well. And this is where you need to tweak and be patient, all right? So as a rule of thumb, I normally tell people to run their advertisements for at least 3 to 4 days at the very least, okay? That means give it a time, run for 3 days on a budget of 5 to 10 USD a day. If you can put in a little bit more, that's up to you, but 5 to 10 USD a day, let it run for 3 to 4 days, all right? There are some people that will run it for a week before making a decision, but right now I'm just going on a bare minimum at the moment, and let's just say this has been running for the last 4 days, all right? So I'm just going to put this in the last 4 days. And as you can see here, this campaign is doing a 3 times return on ad spend, which is pretty good, all right? But tell you what, let's go to the ad set level, and I'm going to show you what is my mindset when it comes to continuing the advertisement or not, okay? So on an ad set level, this is step number 2, we're going to see that not all of them had actually performed. Like for example, if you look at this ad set which was already turned off, okay, so I had turned this off earlier, you can see that this has ran for maybe I think like almost 3 days, and it got no results. Okay, so I turned this off initially. All right, now we have another 4 more ad sets that are performing right now. And if you look, take a look at this one, this is doing a return on ad spend of below 1. Now, some people might give this a chance, but let's just say you've decided that anything below 1 is practically you're losing money, okay? Because I spent $77 here, I've only made 67, so I'm losing $10. Again, it's up to you at this point. Do you want to still give it a chance? It's okay, but let's just say we've given this enough time. I'm gonna turn this off, all right? So it means that this targeting is not doing well, whereas the others are, okay? Now, this is doing really good. This is doing good as well. And as for this one, okay, this has only ran for a day because this was newly created. So it's fine. I'm going to give it maybe 2 or 3 more days, all right, to perform. Whereas as for this two is doing good. I'm just going to continue, all right? Now, let's take a look at this particular ad set. So I'm going to check this box. And even though it's got 7 purchases, let's take a look at the advertisements right now. So there's a minimum of 2 advertisements running right now, and the winner here is video number 2. And the myth about Facebook ads is that people think that if you're giving it $100, it's going to distribute 50-50, and that's not true, all right? So what normally happens in the next few days is that you're going to see something a bit more disparaging where more money gets funneled into this than the others. Okay, now this is a little bit more even at the moment, but I want you to know that typically the ad spend will be quite lopsided, where maybe more would go into this and a lot less into this one. All right, so in this case I might consider turning off this advertisement because it's not doing as well as the other one, or rather Facebook prefers this advertisement. So what happens here is that I can choose to turn this off right now, and right now, I will be running only 1 ad. Again, if you have watched my previous videos, we do not want to be running only 1 ad. In fact, you should have a minimum of 3 advertisements. But when I did this, this was done in a rather hurry. So you want to create 2 more advertisements to compete against this current winner. Okay? So yeah, that's pretty much my mindset when it comes to split testing, when it comes to finding the winning advertisement. And again, I think by now you have found out that it's not so much about finding the audience anymore. I think finding the audience is not a problem nowadays, thanks to Facebook's really smart learning machine. But what is your message? Okay. In fact, if we take a look at it right now, you might notice that I always talk about the cost per result, or the results like purchases in this case. If you want to take a look at the other metrics like click-through, all right, this is doing above 1% easily. So people are clicking on the advertisement. They are interested, all right. Click-through in bracket all. This is supposed to be double of this amount at the very least. So you can see it's very, very well, okay. Number of clicks is not really a lot just yet, 45, but we can tell that the sales copy is converting. Cost per 1,000 impression, if you're targeting the US or tier 1 countries, you're considered pretty good if you're doing $40 or below. If you're targeting Southeast Asian countries or maybe third world countries, $10 US or below will be pretty good. So this, if I convert, this is more like 5 USD, which is very good again, all right? So these are pretty much healthy stats. I turn off this advertisement because this is not performing after like 3 to 4 days, and I would come up with another 2 more advertisements to compete with this one, all right? So a minimum of 3 advertisements at any given time. I would say if you want to go for more, a maximum of 5. I don't recommend anything more than 5 because anything more than 5, Facebook will struggle to look for the winning advertisement, okay? So yes, that is my mindset when it comes to split testing, when it comes to tweaking a campaign and optimizing for that matter. And I'm just going to double back a little bit to the ad sets here. You might notice that I had turned off 2 ad sets. Doesn't mean we're just going to stick with this 3. If you want to spend a bit more money, you can create another ad set and run some more advertisements. You take care.